Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with your boy, Christian, a.k.a. the Road Dogg, and the man himself, Mr. Karl Bryan. King Karl, are you there, bud?
Yo-ho-ho, Road Dogg, I am here, bud, in quarantine, semi-isolation, bored out of my friggin' skull, but that's okay. Actually, hang on. Whoa, I better just reframe that. When I say bored, it's the social part of me, the after 6 o'clock part of me is bored out of my skull. And during the day, I have never been busier and got lots going on, but holy smokes, would I like to get out of this house and go sit at the bar and have a beer with you. That would be cool, but not happening.
Isn't that amazing though, right? Like, we've got all the streaming services possible. We've got access to unlimited amounts of information. And here we all are just going like crazy with cabin fever. But you mentioned the fact that you're super busy, as we all are. Like, man, I've invested more probably in myself and into coaching style type programs to further my knowledge than I have in the past 12 months, which is wild. But how do you manage overwhelm? Just real quick before we even jump into this, if you've got all this stuff going on, do you have any tips for myself and everybody listening?
Buddy, yes, high five. I think it's a great question. And frankly, and again, I could not be more legitimate in terms of if ever I've experienced overwhelm, it is right in this particular moment. As before we started this call, I took myself 10 breaths just to kind of calm myself a little bit as I look at everything on my to-do list. Here's how I do it, just ABC priorities. ABC, and it's just level of importance. If you are A, I get to you first. If you are B, I get to you second. And if you're C, and not you as in, I'm not talking individuals here, I'm talking task. But I think never, more important for me personally, I think there's a lot of other folks. It's halftime at the Super Bowl. We've talked about that. There's a lot of other coaches that are out there really ramping up and cranking it. You really got to do that, guys. You've got to prioritize what it is that you want to do. And then, by the way, actually, maybe one step further, how would I do that? Remember, before I start my day, it's just 3 things that I want to accomplish today. That's it. So before I start my day, these are the things I need to get done. And then that's my macro plan. And that will allow me to tactically understand what is an A, a B, and a C level priority. But I'm like, the chances of me getting everything I need to get done today are zilch, nada, no chance, not happening, the end. So at the end of my day, I can either be incredibly frustrated, further overwhelmed, or I can have a sense of satisfaction that I looked at my top 3 priorities today and that I knocked them off. And it's very important, right, Road Dogg, the way you finish every podcast, progress equals happiness. None of us are immune to it. At the end of the day, it's very important that I feel a sense of progress, a sense of accomplishment. Otherwise, tomorrow is going to be worse. And is that going to allow me to get more is that going to allow me to be more productive? Is that going to allow me to get more done? The answer is no. So that's super duper important. And those ABC priorities, absolutely critical. And the way that you establish them is by having a macro game plan for your day. So that's the way I do it, brother.
Well, the funny thing is, you always talked about having your North Star too, and I think we all got a list that's a mile long. But at the end of the day, like, would you not agree that for the average coach, not the average, pretty much for all of us, like, it's so simple what we're trying to do. Like, for a coach, you're really doing 2 things: you're getting clients and you're keeping clients. Like, that's it,
Yep.
right? So take a look at your priority list and just kind of go, okay, do these actually fall into one of these 2 categories? And then how up in the food chain does this need to go to accomplish that target, that goal, right? So
That's it. I want to expand on what you just said, Road Dog. Important. The North Star, in case you haven't heard that before and you know what we're talking about. So like Gary Vaynerchuk, his North Star is, does it get me attention? That guy's like obsessed with getting eyeballs. He calls it, like, he day trades attention. You hear him say that all the time. So the macro game plan for his day, his week, his month, his year, his 10-year plan is, does it get me attention? And then he monetizes that. Mark Zuckerberg, his macro, his North Star, like, he might have adjusted this, by the way, but does it help us grow? And if it helped them grow, they said yes. If it didn't help them grow, well, actually, okay, so Zuckerberg, you work for Zuckerberg and you come to him and you say, boss, here's what I'm looking to deploy. Will you take a 10-minute meeting with me and discuss this project? He looks at the proposal or the email, whatever form that is, let's call it a proposal. He says to himself, macro, does it help us grow? And if the answer is yes, he'll likely have a 15-minute meeting with you. If the answer is no, it's a line through it. I apologize. Great idea. Let's keep it in the future, or it's toileted. We're not talking about at the end. Like, again, a macro, that's his North Star. So that's what he would ask. So in my world, we have, again, over 800 coaches in 24 countries. My macro game plan, does it help a business coach make $100,000 a year? The end. That's what we call the magazine, the Six-Figure Coach. That's my job. We've got really, again, we have coaches that do $100,000 a year. We've got lots of coaches that do multiple hundreds of grand a year. We've got unicorns that hit $1 million a year. My unicorns that hit $1 million a year, congratulations, high five, you killed it. But my job's not, the extra 900 is congratulations to you. The first 100 is my job, if you kind of understand that as a macro game plan. So basically that's it right there. I just want to make sure everybody understood what is, so, you know, that's Gary Vaynerchuk, that's us, that's Mark Zuckerberg. What's your North Star? Like, what is the game plan? And you could create a North Star, especially given these crazy times, even just for the next 90 days. Because if you're just starting out as a business coach, I don't necessarily encourage, well, you should definitely have that North Star, but let's also be realistic with where you're at. So maybe what you could do is go over the next 90 days, my North Star is to have 10 coaching clients paying me $2,000 a month. And once again, everything that comes over your desk, every email that hits your inbox, every time that you pick up the phone, every time your phone rings, the question is, does it help me get there? And if the answer is yes, it falls into A-level priority. If the answer is no, it's going to fall off the list. So North Star, great point. I love it. I want to make sure everybody got that macro advice from you there, Road Dog.
Awesome. It's like Tony Robbins says, right? At the beginning of every meeting, it's like, before anyone even starts, what is the result that we're seeking here? What is the outcome? And I think that's super important too. Just simplicity, folks. Let's keep it that way. But hey, let's you mentioned ABC. I'm thinking always be closing. I'm thinking sales, right? I want to kind of head down that path for a second, but before I do, because I got a great question here. You know, we talk about this great opportunity and this great time, and I heard a really, really good quote yesterday. And I just wanted to share it with everybody because I thought it was super powerful. Because I know that, like Karl, you and I both know, when it comes to sales, a lot of coaches, a lot of people just have trouble, myself included, right? Like I'm not saying I don't struggle with this, of just closing it out, right? Like asking for the sale. And maybe, just maybe there's some folks out there right now that are like, man, how can I possibly ask somebody right now for money? Like, and the quote that I heard was, look, you've got a quality offering. You can legit help these people. You're not taking advantage of the people. You're just taking advantage of the opportunity that's being presented to us.
Yep.
I love that, right? So just do that. But now when we talk about closing, and people struggle with it, and I know I bug you about this at least once a week. Like, what can you share some good closing techniques? Because like that's the question. Do you have a great closing technique?
Yeah. Okay. I think you just nailed something right there, Road Dog. You've got to believe in what you got, and if you don't believe in what you got, you got to do something else. That if you're not sold, you're not going to sell it. So start with that. Sounds somewhat, hyperbole, like, off the cuff, gray versus black and white, but you got to believe in what you got. Here's a technique that I've used, and it's frigging home run. You should steal it. So I'm about to sell something to somebody, and I'm like going in. So this is like my pre-qualifying close. I just say on a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Okay, no matter what you say to me, Road Dog, you say 6, and it's normally going to be if I'm in front of you. Look, if it's not a 6, I've done something dangerously wrong. But 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. They're normally not going to say 10. If they say 10, it's just okay. Whip out the paperwork and start going. But I'll just say on Road Dog, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Let's assume you say 6.5. You say 7. I will almost always answer back to you just higher than I thought it would be. I will be able to help you close that gap. Imagine what I just said, right? Like I can help you close that gap, like as though I'm doing you a massive favor. And by the way, it gives you a really good sense as to their buying temperature. And then boom, you just lead into the close. But right there, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? They give you the answer. Whatever they say, it's, oh, that's higher than I thought it was. I'll be able to help you get there. And then boom, I run into my close. And then that close, by the way, is the order form close, where just simply I get you into a positive state of mind, you accepting the fact that this is some help that you need. And I just say, great, let's get this going. And so your last name's Road, right? R-O, is it D-E? Yeah, and of course, what are you going to say? I just spelled your name right. It's important that I know this before I come in. But I ask you that, and then I go your address. And what's really happening here, like from NLP, since we were children, we know when we have a form in front of us, we fill it out from top to bottom, and then we sign in the bottom right-hand corner as a rule, right? So I just do the order form close. So I just say, so your last name's Road Dog, right? Or Road, right? Okay, perfect. And then I go your address, and then I go your phone number. Half the time I'm on the phone, I'm staring at my computer. I know exactly what your phone number is, but I got to get you filling out this form. I go, perfect. And your email address is? You give it to me. I go, is that the email we've been going back and forth on? You say yes. I go, perfect. If they give me the phone number, that's your cell, right? And then you say yes. You've said yes multiple times. You're filling out the form. And then I just say, so how do you want to make that first payment? Is it going to be Visa, MasterCard, or do you prefer American Express? And then I shut up. You answer. Boom, we go. So anyway, so that's a really good closing technique right there. The ask 1 in 10, I'll help you get there, and then you do the order form close. In fact, just on the weekend, I got one of my rockstar coaches, Kyla Dillard. Hopefully she's going to be listening to this at some stage. She introduced me to a guy. Kyla traveled with Tony Robbins for 10 years, she's building an impressive team under us, with us. And then she introduced me to a guy who's a total rock star, works very, very closely with Tony Robbins. And he gave me a couple of pre-qualifying questions. I actually wrote them down. I'm going to go off the top of my head here, but damn, they were good. If I could, would you? So basically it's if I could, and then it's a result. If I could help you make $100,000 in the next 90 days, would you? And that's by my coaching program. So if I could, would you? And then the other one was, other than the investment, is there a reason you wouldn't move forward? So again, you're establishing the fact that you're going to put the price in front of them. Basically, other than money, are you going to be moving forward? So you get that out of the way. So you understand, I got to speak to my wife. I got to speak to my marketing guys. I got to speak to my husband. I've got to do X, Y, Z. You get that out of the way, because there's no point going to the close unless you know you're going to be able to get it done. So that would be it. But I would want to finish this with, very importantly, people are motivated by loss 100 times more than they are gain. I think that everybody's heard that, but I think that it falls into the category of, like, there's things that you know, and then there's things that you do, and you probably know it, but my question is, are you doing it? If you're not doing it, that, in my world, that doesn't really mean you know it. Maybe a good example of that is compound interest. Everybody understands compound interest, but how many people actually have compounding working in their favor with their bank balance, their investments, their, the real estate that they own, et cetera? And I think we all can collectively agree, everybody listening to this, Road Dog, you and I, that folks are messing that up royally. So with that being said, people are motivated by loss. When I am closing you on coaching, so what we've done, we created profit acceleration software, and the premise of it is that it finds you $100,000 in 45 minutes without you spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. Well, the process is you're sitting there looking at, let's call it $122,000 of potential gains as a result of working with us. Well, if you work with us, you're going to get the 122 grand. And if you don't work with us, you're not going to get the 122 grand. And in exchange for the 122 grand, let's assume we're $2,000 a month, you're going to have to pay 24 grand at 1997, 2 grand a month in order to get there. But it's positioned as that. In fact, there was an ad campaign for electric cars, and one was positioned that I believe it was $10, but you're by buying this electric car, you were going to save $10 a day. And then they ran the exact same ad, but it was positioned differently with the headline of, by not driving this electric car, you're going to lose $10 a day. Well, which one do you think worked better? And one of the ads was 50% more effective. And obviously it was the one where you're going to be losing. So that's, closing techniques. There's a few for you. I really started it with the biggest, like when I sell you something, I'm doing you the favor. You're not doing me the favor. I'm grateful and I'm appreciative, but I don't position it like I'm on my hands and knees and I hope, golly, I really hope you work with us. Like I know who's doing who the favor here in terms of my value proposition. And in my head, that's just the way that I approach it. And you need to do exactly the same. With your coaching, when they follow through and they get out of their own way, and yes, often they don't, you can't let that muddy the waters of you closing the coaching. In fact, sorry, Road Dog, I got to go down one little rabbit hole very, very quickly here. Before Road Dog gave me some implicit instructions before we started this one, not to go down too many rabbit holes. But here is one. Okay, so when I lost my train of thought. Hang on a second. Road Dog, help me, man. What was I just saying a second ago? It was about closing. Where was I going with that? Help me there, Road Dog.
It'll come back to you. Yeah,
you know what? Let's move on. Hang on. I'm going to come back to it. I apologize, folks. Let's crank it. Bottom line is you need to be completely and utterly convinced that, I got it. Came back. Okay, so when you're selling coaching, what happens is you closed it. I've seen this 1,000 times with the coaches that have worked with me over the years. Here's what happens. We would close the first 5 coaching clients for you as part of our value proposition, okay? Well, we'd close the 5. We were very good at it. We were insanely active lead generation. Like you got no idea the amount that we had going on. So you'd sit with us and my closers, we call them business development managers. They close the first 5 coaching clients for you. And then you're, butterfly, fly away. And then you'd close the next 5 falling off a log because you were so, oh my gosh, this works so easy and this is incredible and holy smokes. Well, now you've got 10 coaching clients. Here's what would happen. 2 are asking for their money back. It's not your fault. It's just that sometimes the coaching relationship doesn't work and maybe they're bitching and moaning and these coaches were a little bit newer to it. They weren't as experienced as ideal. And this just happens, right? Like in other words, it's an uncomfortable conversation, right? So they had 2 of those. And then they had a couple more that weren't answering the damn phone. And then they had 3 that were knocking out of the park, and then the rest were somewhere in the middle. The idea is that when they went to their 11th, 12th, and 13th client, their conversions went in the toilet, okay? Why did their conversions go in the toilet? Because they all of a sudden were thinking about the 2 that were asking for their money back or bitching and moaning and the 3 that weren't answering the phone, and they weren't thinking about the 3 that were knocking out of the park and really killing it, right? Well, the difference is that the ones that don't answer the phone and don't do the work don't get results. Don't let that muddy the water for when you're selling your coaching. And the metaphor that I'd give you is when we're selling a car, imagine a guy standing on a car lot and then you go to spend, you're going to buy the $60,000 BMW or whatever it is. And he gives you an example of, well, sometimes the car's great, but then sometimes, we do sell lemons every once in a while. And it doesn't work out that well. And the guy spends the 60 grand and he's kind of disappointed. Like, could you imagine? No, every time, every brochure, every magazine ad, every time a car salesman puts the car in front of you, of course they position it in the best possible light. Like, why wouldn't they? It wouldn't make any sense to do it any other. And it's the same with the fridge, the dishwasher, the toaster, the shoes, the chairs, the picture frame, whatever it is. Like, it's always positioned in the best possible light when everything goes. You don't think somebody buys a picture frame every once in a while and then you turn it around and the glue didn't quite set and now the picture falls? Like they don't they don't lose enthusiasm the next time they sell the picture frame. But because we sell an intangible, when you're selling your coaching, a couple folks are bitching and moaning and not following through, and then you lose your confidence in your your self-belief and your belief in coaching, and then you're not as good at closing at the 11th, 12th, and 13th time. You have to stop that. All you need to concentrate on is what happens when somebody buys coaching, you deliver, they follow through, what's the result? And the result is unbelievable unless you suck. And if you suck, guess what? You got to go to work. You got to become Jim Carrey going to acting lessons rather than the guy trying to work it out. Like don't experiment with their credit card type of thing, right? Like go to bloody acting school and learn how to do this stuff before you go and audition. In other words, if you're going to look after a restaurant, before you show up, go and do homework on the internet and read books and do as much studying as you possibly can on helping restaurants knock it out of the park, which quite frankly is not that bloody hard to do. It's very, very simple. It's all right there on the internet, but really, really deliver. So I hope that message is coming across, that belief is the most important thing that you can have when you're selling something. And my question is that when you get a couple of clients that don't follow through, do you let that dampen your enthusiasm, hurt the confidence that you have, your self-belief in coaching? And if you are, you got to be honest with yourself, and either you just got to go, you need to sell this thing with the absolute best case scenario right there in front of them, because then you don't get the opportunity to change the individual's life. The end. So when I sell something, believe me, I'm doing you the favor. You're not doing me the favor. Like that's the belief that I have coming into it. You guys need to have the same. So there you go, Road Dog. That's my answer to that one, man. I hope that helps with some closing techniques.
That's so huge right there, just for the who's doing who the favor, right? I love that. And by the way, guys, like when someone's they're gonna cancel, right? Like someone's gonna cancel. I'll never forget, like Karl, we were sitting down at the L on the dock. It was summer. It was hot. I just lost a client. I was pissed. I was down, and you're just like, but it's gonna happen. And it was just that pep talk of, okay, so a couple things. First off, the client didn't do all the work that you wanted them to do, and you're disappointed that you lost it, which then showed that, hey, guess what? If you're upset, if you're pissed off that somebody's canceling, guess what? You care. And that's a really, really good thing. So
that means you're going to crush it. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
Anyway. All right. Timely, very, very, very timely question here. I'm just going to go right into it. I'm struggling to stay positive about my business while under isolation. Any positivity hacks besides, playing hockey in your garage?
Which I'm holding a hockey stick right now, by the way. Yes, I am. Look, there's lots. Here's the thing. You've got to solve the problem that is. Right? Like nobody listening to this is going to be able to solve the coronavirus problem, right? Otherwise you're a crazy scientist sitting there working in a lab. You can't solve that. So in other words, you can't control, there's a lot of things you can't control. One of them is not how hard you work, right? So again, we started this, I am busier than I've ever been. You should be busier than you've ever been. People need some help. Get out there and damn well help them, right? But I just say this, like, feed your mind. Here's the question. Actually, it comes back to somebody. This is a good answer for the last question as well. Somebody says to us, look, I suck at sales. And then my question is, how many books, how many audios, how many videos have you watched on sales in the last 90 days? And no doubt you know how many of them there are. And the answer is none, right? Somebody says to me, I don't know how to drive traffic on the internet. Well, how many books, how many audios, how many videos have you watched on the topic? And the answer is none. So back to staying positive. One of the things, in fact, I had this chat with my 21-year-old daughter this morning, yesterday morning. And, it's just, you've got to fill your mind with as much positivity as you possibly can. Like I legitimately listen to Tony Robbins. Like if I don't listen to him for 30 minutes, an hour a day, it would be a surprise. Like I do, or I most certainly, actually, let me I love Tony Robbins. I think his content is the best in the industry, by the way. So again, some folks love him, some folks hate him. Really doesn't, that's for you guys to decide. I think that his content is the best, the end. So that's what I listen to. It works for me, my style. Maybe you've got somebody different. That's great. Find them. The question is like I will listen to an hour of audio or video every single day, right? Like I'm having a shower. I turn on, like before I get into the shower, I basically have a video going or an audio going of something, right? And it's something positive. It's something that fills me. That's where I come up with all the content for my daily emails and these podcasts, etc. Because I'm always doing it, so I love it. What am I saying? If you want to stay positive, in fact, one of my clients is Marshall Silver, who is an absolute legend. No doubt a lot of you guys have heard of him. If you want to learn sales, I mean, this guy is a stud. He's been on the Howard Stern show, David Letterman. I mean, you name it, he's legit, had his own Vegas show. Anyways, here's what he said recently, and I thought it was bloody amazing. He's like, picture you've got some poison in the glass, and then if you pour positivity on top of the poison, you've still got poison in the glass. What you need to do is you need to just take the cup or take the jug inside, the glass of poison and just keep pouring, keep pouring, keep pouring, keep pouring, keep pouring. And at some stage, what happens, the poison all comes out, and now you've got a nice, healthy, awesome glass of fresh water. But the amount of positivity, the amount of water in order to get that poison out is a lot. So if you want to stay positive, I would just question, how much positivity have you poured into your cup in the last hour, in the last day, in the last week, in the last month, and especially during times like now, because I understand where this question comes from. Believe me, like I'm a bit of a extrovert. You guys have heard Road Dogg and I talking about going down to the pub and having a beer to do. We can't do it. We have a beer now. We got to stand 6 feet away from one another, right? And all this, and heaven forbid if I sneeze, everybody's going to come and saran wrap my house, even though I have hay fever, which is exactly a bit challenging at the moment, right? So I go outside and I'm pooping my pants. I'm at the shopping mall, and heaven forbid I sneeze. Everybody goes running and gives me dirty looks, which that in itself is an issue for me because Canadians, we are known to be incredibly hospitable, friendly. Like our national word is sorry. And right now I go to I got to go to the grocery store and grab some stuff for my family. And I swear to God, no one will look at me. It's just crazy, the environment out there. And frankly, it is driving me insane. I'd be lying to you to say anything. But like when I say it's driving me insane, it's just annoying the hell out of me, the way that this is affecting everyone. So I too, right now, so what am I doing? I'm watching more positivity. I'm staying busy. My solution is I am staying busy as bloody hell. And again, I think that maybe is something that might help the person who asked this question. Left to your own devices, your mind is your enemy. Mel Robbins talks about, those voices inside your head, those are enemy lines, right? Like you got to stay in front of them, and that staying super busy is a solution as much as anything else. So that's the answer to that one. That nobody's immune to it. Most certainly not me, and not pretending anything. But I stay super busy. I am active as frigging hell. And I'm listening to as much positive stuff as I possibly can. And I think also, like looking after yourself physically. Again, like getting onto the treadmill, working out, which is something I've been doing, a lot, to stay sane. So I think that also falls into it. So that's it, man. I'm going to leave it with the cup. You just got to pour so much water into that damn cup that there's no negativity left. And that's a talk I had with my daughter yesterday, and I think that's a good one here. So there's my answer, Road Dogg.
Beauty. Angle for a swim. All right.
Yep.
Practice, backflip practice. All right. This is an interesting one because the next question I'm about to ask is one that I've actually been thinking about a lot, and I'm glad that somebody else brought it up, that I can blame it on them and not just throw it out there. But okay, I'm not sure if this is a good question or not for your podcast, but have you ever thought that business coaching needed to be reinvented? So few biz owners have a coach. Maybe we're failing to get the message across.
Damn, deep question. I like it. Okay. Yeah, great question. Look, to a large degree, this is why we created our business coaching software to kind of reframe. I believe that a lot of coaching is kind of positioned that, it's like the law of attraction, right? There's literally like a law of attraction coach. Doesn't make any sense. Like law of attraction, just, yeah, of course, if you think positively, obviously that's better than thinking negatively, but really action is going to win. You could be super negative and be super active towards your goals and crush the guy who sits in his, him or her who sits in their, room thinking positively on the end of the bed, right? So what I'm getting at is and we're business coaches at the end of the day, right? You have to go in and make these guys more money if you want to keep clients for years. If you want to just keep somebody for 90 days, jump up and down, clap hands, high five one another, you're going to lose them in 90 days. They're going to think you're a great person. They'll refer to you very, very positively for the next 35 years. You guys will stay friends, but you'll lose them as a coaching client. So don't hide behind the fact that you need to make these guys money. So Profit Acceleration software was literally designed to basically give you not only the itemized framework of how you're going to work with your client and how you're going to make them more money. Like you help them create an upsell. You help them create a downsell. You help them create an upfront offer. You help them create a value proposition that kind of, that separates them from the competition so they no longer have to compete on price. So I think that will, and then we go to, really this is a question around innovation. And again, I can't tell you how much I love the question. So really there's three, as far as I'm concerned, there's only three ways to innovate. There is product, there is delivery, and then there is marketing. And again, if you're listening to this and you're liking this topic, I'd encourage you to write those down. That's really good news because it becomes easy to help your clients or yourself innovate. And then if I were to give you an example, let's just go real simple. Let's go to my daughter's lemonade stand. Okay, so a product innovation would be like, how could she use less lemons and get equal amount of lemonade, or even a higher concentrated, in other words, tastier level of lemonade, right? So that would be like how she does it with her product. And then the delivery of the service will. If she stood on the end, where do little girls, she's 6 years old, where do little girls set up lemonade stands? In the front of their driveway, right? Well, what if we packed up, which we have done this, you might have heard this story previously, but we go to the beach when we're going to sell her lemonade, right? Well, all of a sudden, the delivery is clearly there's going to be more people at the beach on a sunny day than there is on the end of at the end of the street, right? And by the way, a busy street is going to significantly outpull, like a cul-de-sac. So thinking about that, so delivery, and then the marketing is another breakthrough. So let's say that maybe what she's going to do is like a sponsorship deal, and she's going to contact the local gymnastics team, at the local hockey team, at the local soccer team, and then they're going to bring all their kids to the beach. And then they are going to run around the beach, which is very busy. So let's say we got 12 kids ripping around, taking orders, and then coming back to her lemonade stand and then delivering it. Do you see how all of a sudden the manner in which she was marketing it, manner in which she was selling it, would all of a sudden go through the roof? Or maybe she's going to get a sign on the side of the road, or she's going to get kids to stand on the side of the road, and they're going to hold out a sign that's going to say, lemonade here. Or you could, and again, think car wash, right? You've seen that where you're driving by and the kids from the sports team are holding out signs saying, get your car wash here. Well, that's an adjustment in the way that you're marketing it, right? So basically those are the only three areas that you can to innovate. So thinking about that, so how do you do it? And then think of distribution as well. Like when I originally did my, how I do my one coaching thing, my daily email. So when I was doing that, the very first email that I sent out that was the inspiration, I was like, this thing was just too damn deep and there was too much information. So I said, I'm going to turn this into 7 emails instead of just one, because there's just so much great content in here and I want to make sure that everybody gets the message. And the first one was like BlackBerry. BlackBerry is a Canadian company. Road Dog, I think we share this, right? We both loved our BlackBerries. And I didn't love my BlackBerry. I loved the keyboard. and I didn't think I was going to be able to live without it, right? So the iPhone seemed cool and had some cool functionality, but at the end of the day, man, that BlackBerry keyboard had me. So, and there were so many folks, and a lot of you listening right now would probably say the same thing. Oh my God, I miss the BlackBerry keyboard. Well, the question is, if everybody loved their BlackBerry so much, Canadian, by the way, did I say that? Canadian company? Then why did the iPhone crush them? And the iPhone didn't put the BlackBerry out of business. The App Store did. You fell in love with checking the weather, checking your stocks. You fell in love with the apps on your phone as opposed to the iPhone itself. In fact, you probably found typing on the iPhone, if you're anything like me, incredibly challenging when you came from a BlackBerry with the awesome keyboard. So that's the question. In fact, where does that come from? Steve Jobs worked at Atari many, many years ago, and he knew that people didn't fall in love with Atari. They fell in love with Pac-Man, with Donkey Kong, with Frogger. So they fell in love with the games, not Atari itself, but Atari was the distribution, and then Pac-Man was the game. So again, Pac-Man was the X factor. He created that for the iPhone. So that's like distribution. So thinking about that for your coaching company, and again, we've actually, in fact, literally this is within the last couple of weeks, but what we've already really done is created what we call the App Store for business coaches. It's called Coaches Marketing Center is what we call it internally. But bottom line is it's got all these, like everything you're ever going to need for coaching your business. Like we've got $50,000 marketing systems for all kinds of different categories of business. Like if you're about to work with a dentist, we've got like a $40,000 to $50,000 turnkey marketing system ready to go. Like let's say it's a $50,000 marketing system, your $2,000 a month as a coach. If positioned properly, that's a $48,000 discount on day one without all the other bells and whistles, right? And then we've got strategy guide. So you're going to work with that dentist, a strategy guide before you work with them, where it's like walk through X, Y, Z, and this is exactly how you're going to go about changing the existence of that specific business. And again, we've got that in all different categories of business, right? So basically, thinking about the distribution, the App Store crushed BlackBerry. What could you do? And in fact, my first ever, let me go into another tangent here, not so much tangent, but a rabbit hole where my first ever business coach made $330,000 in his first 6 months. And basically it was a networking group, right? So he had a networking group, think BNI, right? It wasn't BNI, but it was like that. So basically BNI, and instead of like, nobody really buys networking, right? So let's say it's $1,000 a month or a year for a membership to BNI. They're not really buying a membership to BNI. What they're really trying to buy is referrals, a community. They're a little bit lonely in their own home office and looking for, some other friends. Like there's a lot of other things. Most importantly, the referrals. They're looking for more business as a rule. So is networking really what they're looking for? So if you think about it, they're trying to grow their business. So providing them consulting, providing them coaching, providing them the accountability was significantly more important than the networking. So, and when somebody signs up, you'll also find that there's an event. So the opportunity to sell them, let's just call it $12,000 coaching, at the point where they sign up for the networking, they are hot to trot at that stage. Okay, so what I'm saying is that with the distribution, if you contact them, let's say I sign up for BNI tomorrow, I am ready to, my chances of buying $12,000 coaching are significantly greater than I sign up for BNI and then you contact me 6 months later. Okay, you get it? Because the two decisions are connected in my mind because something led me to buy the $1,000 membership to BNI, and it's probably the same thing that will lead me to buy $12,000 coaching. So said differently, when you track advertising in a local newspaper, directory, magazine, what have you, a new advertiser will buy from you at a significantly high percentage of time than somebody that's been there advertising for 6 months. And that's not to say the guy that's been advertising for 6 months won't buy and isn't hot to trot and a good prospect, but the guy that just bought is significantly greater opportunity to sell them. So I think that's important. And again, it just comes back to distribution. What am I saying? That would be, this guy is asking for rethinking the business model with just, picking up the phone and sending out direct messages on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, etc. That's one way of getting coaching, but owning a networking organization or like a mastermind and then selling a percentage of them business coaching is a disruption in terms of the traditional business model. And I know it's one that has worked very, very well for others. So you could think about that. So innovation, we're talking about innovation. I think this is important. And then just thinking about different ways, like with your clients as well. I think that's important because you don't want to just innovate with your own business coaching. But what about if you can help your clients innovate? And a really great story, I told this recently, but I think it's a home run big time. I like to buy watches. I have lots of watches. I buy lots of watches. That's just my thing. So I bought a watch. It was a while ago now, but I bought it. And then they sent me an email, and I'm like, oh, my God, this is a great watch. I saw it on the internet, and, of course, ads chase me around the internet because I'm always looking at watches. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's like the coolest watch ever. I need to own it. Boom, I buy it, and then they send me an email and say, congratulations, not thank you, but congratulations. And then they tell me that my watch is going to be here, and I can't remember, but like 60 days. And I'm like, 60 days? In the day of instant gratification like Amazon, I'm expecting this thing overnight, right? Well, 60 days. And then they go on to send me an email about once a week to tell me that where they're at in the process of building my watch, right? I'm like, holy smokes, man, just deliver the thing, right? It's sexy. I want to wear it. I wanted to wear it last week. But what's interesting here is no inventory. I can't begin to tell you how powerful that is. Like one of the challenges that you find with clients is that, dead inventory, if they've got a business where they have to stock things, when we're different in business coaching, by the way, but now I'm talking about your clients, they don't have any wastage and they don't have any inventory. Imagine how profitable that business is. Every single watch that they make is prepaid and they've had my money for 60 days before they deliver it. When you really understand business models and innovation, the power and the because do you want to build a company that makes $1 million gross revenues and you make $100,000? Or do you want to build a company that does $500,000 in gross revenues and you make $250,000? It's pretty obvious which company you'd rather own. And let's assume both have the same prospects and opportunity for growth, right? But the significantly more profitable one, with incredible cash flow, by the way, is one that you want to be thinking about. I can't begin to tell you the power of what I'm describing here. A watch company that doesn't have inventory, they just pay as you go, and you pay, and then they deliver the watch in 60 days. Incredible in terms of, you're just talking distribution. It's just incredible as a business model, but a little bit different. So that's what I would say, though, I love the question. Should you be thinking about it differently? And the answer is absolutely. And I think I just given you a good idea, like the networking, like do something different than, like you could start your own local newspaper and then like you could give ads away for free and then sell coaching to 2 in 10 folks that buy the ads. And again, you'll be, $12,000, $24,000, $36,000 coaching. If you did your numbers at the end of the year, you'd probably be looking pretty good. So that's an example of, rethink. The first thing that comes to mind when I think of, rethinking what that might look like. Or you could create, in this day and age, like the local Facebook, like a local directory for business owners where they can connect and talk, be some serious software expense here. But you could create the Facebook for your local community and then again, sell 2 in 10 members, a $12,000, $24,000, $36,000 coaching business, and I think you'd be changing the game big time and bringing more value to your clients. So, I'm not sure if that's the answer the guy was looking for, but I love the question. I love the line of thinking, and there's some power in that for sure, man.
Beauty. Okay, man. Well, we covered a lot here so far today, and against my advice, as per usual, you decide to follow the rabbit down the hole. So well done. We'll continue. Like, see, everybody, no one's perfect. Not even Karl. Like, we'll keep practicing. We'll keep going down and making sure he doesn't follow too many rabbits. But hey, it is what it is. He is an imperfect man, just like the rest of us.
Road Dogg. Appreciate it, dude. Well done, man. Let's rock and roll.
Any final words of wisdom or anything else that you care to just kind of wrap up with here?
What am I going to say? You know what? Success, like, again, we're all kind of hunkered down in our house. Success is boring. It's the same movie 3 times a day, 7 days a week, for 10 years. Folks that are constantly looking and falling for the shiny light syndrome and whatnot, create that North Star and just accept that, you know, success in business is going to be boring because, frankly, it's just going to be. That's just success is. And you ask anybody who's really, really made it in business, and I almost guarantee they'll reflect almost those sentiments exactly. But what you do is the excitement comes from other areas of your life. That doesn't mean you live a boring life, but just, you know, go skydiving, learn how to drive race cars, buy yourself a Porsche and rip it around the neighborhood on the weekends, buy yourself a Harley Davidson. You can get excitement from other areas of your life, but 8 hours a day in your office, the more you do, you know, repetition and you get really, really good, the same thing over and over again, success could be yours. So that's how I'll finish it, man. Success is boring, and it's the same movie 3 times a day, 7 days a week, for 10 years. So
you're saying success is like COVID. It's like the quarantine edition. All right.
Yes.
There you go. See, we're on top of it, bud. We are timely. All right, everybody. Again, thanks for tuning in to another fantastic episode of Business Coaching Secrets with my boy, King Karl. If you want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com. Again, focused.com. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please, please, please share it with anyone that would be interested in becoming a business coach or any existing coaches that you know. Again, you know the type of folks just like you and I, the ones that love kind of building up and aren't scared of times like this and are actually attacking our businesses at this point to improve them. And of course, we'd appreciate any sort of review that you could leave for us. Again, that's just how they work, right? In order for us to move up the charts, it's all based on reviews. So if you like what you heard, please go ahead and leave us a review. All right. And having said that, as I always end with, remember, everybody, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.